The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, its screen glowing like a beacon in the dim evening light, and my heart sank as I saw her name, Clara, followed by a text that wasn't meant for me. He's clueless. Meet me at the usual spot. My fingers trembled as I set the phone down. The words searing into my mind, each one a splinter driving deeper into the trust I'd built with my wife over 7 years of marriage. I stood frozen in our cozy kitchen, the smell of her lavender candles still lingering from last night's dinner, where we'd laughed over her terrible attempt at risotto. Clara had said she was heading out for a girls' night with her co-workers, a monthly ritual I never questioned. She'd kissed me softly, her hazel eyes warm, promising to be home by midnight. Now, at 9:47 p.m., doubt crept in like a thief, stealing the certainty I'd held onto for so long. I tried to shake it off. Maybe the text was a joke, or a misunderstanding. Clara wasn't the type to lie. She was the one who'd cry during rom-coms, who'd leave me sticky notes with doodled hearts on the fridge. But the phrase "the usual spot" gnawed at me. What spot? With whom? My mind raced, conjuring images I didn't want to see, and before I knew it, I was grabbing my keys, pulling on my jacket, and heading out the door. The city streets blurred past as I drove to the Rusty Anchor, the bar where Clara's girls' nights usually happened. The parking lot was half empty, neon lights flickering against the autumn chill. I scanned the lot for her silver Honda, but it wasn't there. My stomach twisted. I pulled out my phone, hesitating, then sent a casual text. "Hey, having fun? Miss you." No reply. The silence felt like a weight pressing on my chest. I circled the block, telling myself I was being paranoid. But then I remembered my best friend, Nate. He'd been acting strange lately, avoiding eye contact, canceling our usual Sunday basketball games with flimsy excuses. Clara and Nate had always gotten along, their banter easy and familiar, but I'd never thought twice about it. Until now. The text burned in my memory, and a sickening thought took root. What if he was the one she was meeting? I drove to Nate's favorite dive bar, the Black Dog, a grungy spot with sticky floors and a jukebox that hadn't been updated since the 90s. As I pulled into the lot, my breath caught. There was Clara's car, parked crookedly under a street lamp. My heart pounded as I stepped out, the cold air biting at my knuckles. I didn't want to go inside, didn't want to face what might be waiting, but my feet moved anyway, drawn by a need to know. Inside, the bar was dimly lit, the air thick with cigarette smoke and the low hum of conversation. I scanned the room, my eyes landing on a corner booth. There she was, Clara, her dark hair spilling over her shoulders, laughing as she leaned toward Nate. His hand rested on the table, inches from hers, and the way she smiled at him, unguarded and bright, was a knife to my gut. It was the smile she used to give me, back when we'd stay up late talking about dreams we'd chased together. I stood there, rooted, as the world tilted. A waitress bumped into me, muttering an apology, but I barely heard her. Clara hadn't seen me yet, and part of me wanted to turn and leave, to pretend I hadn't seen this. But then Nate leaned closer, whispering something that made her laugh again, and the sound, her joy with him, shattered my hesitation. I walked over, my steps heavy, each one echoing the betrayal sinking into my bones. "Clara," I said, my voice low but sharp enough to cut through the bar's noise. Her head snapped up, and the color drained from her face. Nate froze, his eyes wide, guilt written in every line of his expression. "Mark," Clara stammered, her voice shaky. What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I said, my gaze flicking to Nate. "Girls' night, huh?" She opened her mouth, then closed it, her hands twisting in her lap. "It's not what you think," she said finally, but the words sounded hollow, like she didn't believe them herself. Nate cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "Man, it's just a drink. We ran into each other, that's all." "Ran into each other?" I repeated, my voice rising despite myself. "At the usual spot? Don't lie to me, Nate. Not you too." The bar seemed to quiet, or maybe it was just my world narrowing to this moment. Clara's eyes glistened, and she reached for my hand, but I pulled back. "Mark, please," she whispered. "Can we talk outside?" I nodded, not trusting my voice, and followed her out into the chilly night. Nate stayed behind, his head bowed, and I hated him for it. Hated that he couldn't even face me. Outside, Clara wrapped her arms around herself, shivering in her thin sweater. I didn't mean for this to happen, she started, her voice breaking. Then why did it? I asked, my throat tight. Why are you here with him, Clara? Why did you lie? She looked away, her breath visible in the cold air. It started as nothing, she said. Just talking. He was there when I needed someone, and you've been so distant lately, Mark. Work, always work. I felt like I was losing you. Her words stung, not because they were false, but because they weren't entirely wrong. I'd been drowning in deadlines, coming home late, too tired to notice the growing distance between us. But that didn't justify this. So you turned to Nate? I asked, my voice raw. My best friend. It wasn't planned, she said, tears spilling now. We just connected. I didn't want to hurt you. But you did. I said, the words heavy with finality. You both did. She reached for me again, but I stepped back, the space between us a chasm I didn't know how to cross. I need time, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't do this right now. I turned and walked back to my car, her soft sobs echoing behind me. Driving home, the city lights blurred through the tears I refused to let fall. The house felt emptier than ever when I stepped inside, the lavender candle now a bitter reminder of what we'd lost. I sank onto the couch, staring at the framed photo of us on our honeymoon, Clara's head thrown back in laughter, my arms around her, both of us believing we were untouchable. Hours later, the door creaked open. Clara stood in the doorway, her face pale, eyes red. Mark, she said softly, can we talk? I looked at her, the woman I'd loved fiercely, the woman who'd broken me. What's left to say? I asked, my voice hollow. I love you, she said, her voice cracking. I messed up, but I love you. I'll do anything to fix this. I wanted to believe her, wanted to rewind to a time when her words would have been enough. But trust, once shattered, doesn't piece back together so easily. I don't know if you can. I said, the words tasting like ash. Not after this. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and for a moment, we just stood there, two people who'd built a life together now standing on opposite sides of a wound too deep to heal. The silence stretched, heavy with everything we couldn't say, and I knew this was only the beginning of the pain we'd both have to face. As she turned to leave the room, I stared at the empty space where she'd stood, wondering if love could ever be enough to mend what betrayal had broken. The answer, I feared, was already slipping through my fingers.